Some people are very famous. Other people, well, they're kind of famous. But most of us, we're not famous at all. But we all have something in common. Everybody's got at least one great story. Please welcome to Their Stories. I'm your host, Mike Cotton. And once again, as always, we've kind of changed gears, and we've got just a fascinating guest that does things in her business world, and she's fascinating anyway. That particularly you people that are in business, your independent businesses, this is something you want to turn up the volume and you want to learn what she's talking about very closely, because it's a whole new way to do business, and you can keep doing business how you've been doing business, but this is going to open a lot of doors for you. She's from my neighborhood. She was born and raised in South Alabama, eventually was offered a teaching job in Pensacola, so she moved to the big city, so to speak, and worked her way up, and I believe she taught school for 20 years, English, actually became the chair of the English department. She was married to a fellow named Bob, and Bob got involved in what we call trade exchanges, and they are around the country, and started to build this business in this region of Northwest Florida, even though there's other exchanges around the country. And we're going to get into that and see how this actually operates. Unfortunately, Bob took sick, and she had to leave her teaching position and take over the business. And that was in 1977, I believe. And then he passed away in 97. And so she had to take on quite a burden. And don't tell me that independent single women can't run businesses, because this lady has got it together, and I've known her for many years. Dave Barnes actually has been involved in her business as a member for, I think, since the 90s, so he's almost one of the charter members from this region. So without further ado, please welcome my friend. I've known her for years, and also a business associate, Fran Crumpton. How you doing, Fran? Welcome to the show.
Great, and thank you, Mike, for this opportunity. It's a pleasure.
So, Fran, let's go back a little bit to the beginning. So, you grew up in South Alabama. I love that area. We call this area L.A., Lower Alabama.
Yes.
My dad's people are all from, ended up in Walker County, Alabama, back in, I think, the 30s or the 40s. And as a child, I was being raised in Atlanta, but came over there every weekend that we could, and just was fascinated. That's where I got into the blues, actually. The farmers, the people that worked on the land and lived on the land, they were all great blues singers. So my mom and my aunt, my grandmother said the music hypnotized me. Well, it still is hypnotizing me. So that's for another show, folks. But we do cover the blues. A lot of Southern culture, so to speak. Yeah. So talk about a little bit about what your life was like in South Alabama before you came to Pensacola.
Yes, and again, thank you for this opportunity.
You're welcome.
I'd like to preface my remarks by saying that I had some great teachers in elementary school, and I think at that time I realized that that's what I wanted to be, a teacher. So early on, I knew my direction. I knew my focus. That's what I wanted to be. That was my dream. I eventually worked toward that goal. Undergrad at Troy State University, where at that time it was one of the top schools for teaching, for teachers, and then was moved to, because of job situation, I had an opportunity to have a teaching job at Escambia High School to start with.
That's Pensacola, folks.
Yes.
For all you people out in Pomona.
Yes. And so very fortunately met the chair of the department at that time, Hazel Scales, who made a tremendous difference in my life and influenced me and helped me to move on to even better situation. And so when Pine Forest High School opened in 75, she was transferred there as assistant principal and asked me to move with her, and I became the chair of the English department there at Pine Forest High School, where I served for 20 years. Had the privilege of teaching the top advanced placement students, seniors, and the junior honors. I have a funny story I'll share with you sometime. But it was just a marvelous situation. Had some wonderful students that influenced me and still keep in touch with me today. I still have a former student that sends me flowers on birthdays. Oh. So I felt that was my mission in life, to give back to others and to work with students. But then life took an unexpected turn, and in the 90s, and my husband at that time, Bob Crumpton, who started Gulf Coast Trade Exchange, and well, we started together with a partner, and he had a paint store at that time, the Paint Mart, and so he was diagnosed with an illness. It was actually cancer. And at that time, I thought it might be good for me to step away and to be there to help him. In the long run, we lost him in '98. And then I had three choices. I thought, I could sell the business. And because we had a good image, he had served, we were very active with the National Association of Trade Exchanges. He served as president. I served as on the board, and then I served as national chair for the brokers. And I came up with an idea for the brokers, for the National Broker of the Year. So I would ask the brokers around the country, the various exchanges, to vote for the broker they felt who had done the best job with travel, etc. And then I created the award for Broker of the Year, and I'd present at the national convention. So, and then I also helped with a couple of programs, barter the Broker of the Year, and not only that, but also a couple of awards, Master Trade Broker, Certified Trade Broker, and I taught those classes on the national level. So I was very active, and so because of making those connections, we had, and having a good image on the national level, I had several exchanges after we lost Bob. I had several exchanges to contact me and say they wanted to buy our business. Well, at that time, I had just lost him, so I did not want to make a hasty decision. I did not want to make a wrong decision. So I decided, I said, give me 90 days and I'll decide. I'll give you a decision. And I had three specific companies really pressing to buy us. So after 90 days, in the meantime, I thought, well, I'm not really ready to retire. I love people. I was very active became very active with the chamber and still ambassador with our chamber. Very active in Rotary. I served as president of one of the Rotary clubs. Active on the board of Better Business Bureau, the BBB. Member of Impact 100, so became very networking with the community to give back. And then I decided, hey, I know everything about this business except outside sales. And I thought, well, wait, I have a teacher friend that left education to be a salesperson for McDougal Littell selling textbooks, and she became #1 in the state of Florida. And I thought, well, if Sandy can sell textbooks, I that's what we did in the classroom every day. We were selling education, whether it was lit, grammar, composition, whatever, we were selling education. So I thought, well, this is just another avenue. I can do this. So
you mean back when the public school system was really teaching
something
they could use in real life?
Absolutely.
What a concept.
Absolutely. So I called each of those companies and said, hey, I've decided to keep this. And I'm so glad I did, because somebody asked me recently, said, Fran, do you miss teaching? I said, I miss that high energy of the students, but I don't miss grading those essays, because I always did more than the county said we needed to do, and I'd have essays with me everywhere I went, whether it was a tennis tournament or driving to a football game or at the hair salon, wherever I had those papers to grade. But anyway, I said, but I miss the students. I miss that high energy. But I said, but that's a good question, because I was giving back, and I was selling education, but now I'm selling just a different product, but to business owners, but I'm still giving back. So I still get that same feel.
Gotcha.
So.
And if they're successful, you've been successful.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about.
Yes.
Really.
And so I still enjoy working with the business owners. I still enjoy working with people, and it makes me feel great to say, hey, and I want a vacation, and that's one of the pertinent things of our company too, is that not only do we have products and services here for businesses, and we'll talk about the advantage of barter in just a moment.
We're going to get into those.
Yeah.
Let's back up. We kind of went through your life and the tragedies and things you had to deal with, your successes. So now you had to make a decision. Do I retire? Do I take the money and run or whatever and go do something? And I get the feeling that you and your husband put in a lot of time and effort, and it was your baby, and you're probably hesitant to turn it over to anybody anyway. So let's talk about day one, and now you are the goddess and the CEO of Gulf Coast Trade Exchange.
Yes.
And which is a trade exchange, and we're going to discuss that because that's kind of a term. A lot of people go, what the heck is that? Are you like trading beads or what do you trade? We trade everything. But so you walk in now, it's you. How did that go? Tell us a little bit about getting your feet on the ground now, because it's a big change. Because if you have a spouse or partner that you really took care of each other best you go in business and in your life, personal life, which is not easy. I've run businesses with former spouses, and it tends to not work out for me anyway. I'm not really the poster boy for that. But you're now alone, and you're a single businesswoman. You're in a world of business it's competitive, and you've got a product or a service or both. There's only two types of businesses, right? Products and services. There really is no other type of it. Some people do. We do both with us.
That's true.
We sell a lot of merch, but we provide production services, for our clients, and then we do a lot of broadcasting, whatever. So, but most businesses, they're doing one or the other in a sense. So you're there. What was so were you in the location you're in now?
Yes.
That, okay. Because I know the paint store is still there, but I guess there's other owners. Are you still involved in the paint business?
We gave the paint store to son-in-law.
Oh, really? Really? I know. I've shopped there. Those guys are.
Greg is doing a great job.
Yeah, go ahead and give him a plug. This is Sherman Williams.
Yeah, Greg is doing a great job at the Paint Mart. So
talk to him.
Yeah, and they have great service.
And what's the name of the paint store?
The Paint Mart.
Right, but they're also
Benjamin Moore. It's the
Benjamin
Moore
I'm
Paint
sorry.
Mart.
Did I say Sherman Williams? No, Sherman
Benjamin
sucks.
Moore.
Benjamin Moore, that's the best there. No, these guys. I mean, if you're in the region, they're awesome. And it may have been a mistake for me personally to take on painting outside, but I could paint exteriors. The interiors I can't deal with. But they were a couple times. I had owned several properties around this area, and I went there, and everybody said, "No, you're going to go to Paint Smart. Greg's the best." So anyway, well that's great. So, but you're not too far away. You're like right next door.
Yes.
So if I park in his spot and come over to your building,
it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Folks,
yeah.
All right. So now you're there. It's day one. Did you make any big changes? Did you just keep doing what you were doing, or what happened?
I did make. That's a good question. I did make some changes. One is Bob and I had done a dual show with Blab TV. For a while, called Pensacola Business Forum, and then I continued to do that.
So Blab TV in this market, it's kind of the slang term would be pay to play, but these are block time stations. I used to do my first radio shows were actually block time, where I would go in and just buy the time in South Florida, and I went on to have a very successful radio show called Shades of Blue. But eventually, I built it up, and then the actual stations were kind of fighting with the rock stations. Don't want to have anything to do with me because they said the blues is dead. I said, oh yeah, I don't think so. Today it's bigger than it's ever been, but it's like saying surfing is dead. For as far as I'm concerned, there's too many people surfing. The water's too crowded. But so I built up to that too. But the interesting thing with that, to show you where it's going, you got a good product, it was the urban stations, which is for their audience is primarily black adults, and they call it urban programming. But it's soul music, R&B. It's pretty close to blues. And then here they bring in the blue-eyed. We call them, people like me, the blue-eyed blues brother. And now I'm playing the blackest music there is, which is the blues, which it all came from Mississippi originally. But so you never know where that's going to go. And where I was just leading with that is if you get in the right situation and you're marketing to the right people, it can make all the difference in the world. But there's a lot of times I was wondering who's listening,
Yeah.
But they were. and the other station owners are listening.
Yeah.
So anyway, I interrupted you. And
That's okay, but back to Gulf Coast Trade.
Right.
One is I've been fortunate to have good employees, and especially I'd like to give a shout out to Debbie, our office manager.
She's great.
She's been with us 30 plus years.
Wow.
And she's been just really excellent. But so if I leave the office, I don't have to worry because I know she's going to.
Did you bring somebody else on? I seem like I saw a post that you brought on.
Yes,
lady. Okay.
we have Catherine, Catherine Bonnywell, who is going to be along with our team members and taking care of social media and some sales and marketing as well. Yeah, good. She's a graduate of FSU and majored in marketing. So
good deal.
So that's good. But what I try to do is try to make sure that we cover all the bases with the members. And two things, and if you're not familiar with barter, it's a great source for revenue and extra business for your business and to help you save cash as well. So
let's bring it. So
okay.
So you're there, you're settling in. It's all about you now. I mean, you got to own everything that you do, but you had great teaching from your husband, and you dealt in it for a long time. So it wasn't like you walked into something totally brand new.
Yes.
I do want to mention right here that if you're listening out in California, you're viewing us in Atlanta, there are trade I've learned because I'm a member. I should have become a member many years ago. And our partner Dave Barnes, which many of you know, because Mark and I, he was kind of our mentor in the film business. And we do stuff with any of the bigger productions. We always do with Dave, the smaller. And Dave's come in here. In fact, he's a regular on our show. So he's funny, but he's informative as well. And we do want to wish Dave luck. He's talking now in public about his prostate cancer and a new type of surgery that they do called the Tulsa procedure, which is only closest places in Jacksonville. So he did go get some tests done yesterday. So we're all praying for you, Dave, and that you're going to get the this new type of surgery, which is least invasive, done. So now I think really at this point, because you're going to go into, I've run in the biker world, I've run in the surfing world, and I've run in the music world, particularly in the world of blues and roots music. All of those worlds, and we always say those worlds are kind of like the last of the old Wild West, okay? Because we're kind of in the fringe of society in a way, but it's great. But I think right at this point, when people hear trade exchange, and they've been around for a long time, and folks, there's other, I don't want to say chapters, but brokers that have these other, are they franchises basically, or?
Some are franchises and some are not.
But many of them work with you, and you can go out of the region. I think you were.
We partner. Okay. We partner with other exchanges across the U.S.
Okay.
Primarily for travel, vacations, etc. For example, we have one client that saves her dollars for a big chalet in Colorado every summer.
I heard the story. It's great.
And she takes her friends for her birthday every summer.
All right, well, just hold that thought now. Yeah. Let's just back up now. Kind of talk about, this is a learning curve for everybody. How does it work? Because people are, I don't get it. Okay. So this is your chance to tell a lot of people how it works.
Great question.
Right.
If you could use a little extra business and you'd like to save money, then this is a great concept for you and something to look into, Gulf Coast Trade Exchange. So, number one, if you would be interested in, say, selling your product or service for others, for example, like advertising.
And this is business to business.
Yeah, business to business.
And I know it's mostly independent businesses, independently owned.
Well, we do have some chains, some franchises, some chains, but primarily business. But it's business.
People you deal with on the local level, regional.
We deal with any business that would be
a member.
Okay. It would be profitable for them. But anyway, the purpose is if you would like to trade your product or service for others, for example, like trade your product or service for advertising, printing, and we have many avenues for advertising as far as billboards, radio, TV, printed media, social media.
It's a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
It's not even now to me, and I look at the list about once a week if I got time. It's almost like who's a member. It's like who's not a member.
Yeah.
Because just about everybody. So They wouldn't have these members if this wasn't successful.
Yes.
I'll tell a real quick story.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I built up, and you'll understand what this is as Fran goes into this. So I got on board about 6 months ago, and I kind of was interested. I was doing some different things. I keep forgetting. It's like those senior specials. I forget to ask for my senior special. So now they just go, "Oh, senior, we'll give you the discount." How'd you know that? We know. But just an example. So I had sold some business. Dave and I actually work as a team. So we collectively sold a lead that you guys had given us for the top caterer and special event people in the Pensacola area. And we did a really cool video. And so they were able to take half on paper what the value was. And we don't, we keep our set prices from our rate card. So I don't. That video was maybe, I want to say $800,000, something like that. So the value, they were able to give Dave part and give me part in there. So on the books, so now I got $400 or $500 credit, trade dollars. Let's just put it that way. And I did a couple of other things. So now I got up to like 800 or 900, and I've got other things coming on that I'm working on. But so one day at my house, world headquarters out in Beulah on 20 acres. Thank you. Very laid back. Stop by sometime if you're not in the area. That's a joke. So I had a housekeeper. She grabs a rubber doormat outside and puts it in my dryer. And all of a sudden I'm smelling burning rubber. And the machine goes down. She pulls it out. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know it." It's like, you don't put rubber in a dryer. There's an element in there. In the end, it turns out she burned up the element from what she did, and it was over $200 to get it repaired. So I talked, because I get lazy, so I'm not doing all that research, but I'm just calling Trade Exchange. So I talked to Debbie, I guess,
Debbie.
and she ran. I said, "Should I call this guy?" "No, this guy." She goes, "No, he just does air conditioners." And she goes, "But I got this other company. They'll do the appliances." Call there. In the end, it was over $200. So yeah, I lost $200 in trade value, but I didn't write a check for anything, and I just signed the thing. And it's like, man, I wasn't ready to pull $200 out anyway.
Yeah.
And
So
for other reasons, the housekeeper got terminated in the end anyway, but some serious stuff.
But people enjoy it they can do more for advertising rather than just paying cash.
Right.
And then also for advertising, printing. We mentioned printing. One CPA just did $2,000 worth of printing the other day on trade. So instead of writing a check,
Right.
And then we have some of the greatest restaurants in the area in Pensacola. Also medical. We have great medical. One member just, of course, I'll tell you in a minute how to set up. We set up the account, but one member was able to do $10,000 in dental work for some, extensive dental work. So instead of writing a check, so what we do, we save two things primarily. We can send a little new business your way, but you're always in control of how little or how much, and two, save you cash when you deal with somebody in our group. So you're trading, you're selling at retail, but when you're spending at wholesale.
Yes.
So what we do is we set up an account. It's all computerized. Set up an account just like a bank account, and then we have a phone app. Also, they can just download from the App Store, download their phone app, Gulf Coast Trade phone app on their phone, and so we can transfer the dollars two ways when there is a transaction. They can either do it with the phone app, and the phone app also has the directory online. And one of the features...
Go ahead and give your website right now, and we're going to do it again, and Mark will probably put up the screen, but what is, if they're going to find out...
GulfCoastTrade.com.
GulfCoastTrade.com, write that down. And I think everything is a pretty comprehensive
And there's an application fee they could
there.
download if they wanted to also. Right. But they can download, so they can transfer the dollars two ways, either with the phone app, or if they just want to call Debbie or me and just say, "Hey, I just did a transaction for et cetera," so, and we'll post it to their account. And then one of the features is once it's posted, they get an email receipt, just like using a credit card.
Right.
And then the first day of each month, our tech guru, who takes care of all the prime exchanges across the U.S., he's wonderful, excellent. He does the 1099s and everything. But
okay. So, all right. So this is the questions that's asked me, and I kind of know how to answer it. So when you let's say you're in the widget business and you sell $1,000 worth of widgets to the guy over at the hardware store. So there is an accounting of that value, and that is based, that does go on a 1099 that you issue once a year. So that is reported to the IRS.
Yes, but
there was no cash exchange.
But it's just like cash.
Right.
So if you spent $2,000 for some business expense, advertising, like for a billboard, etc., advertising, you just list on your information, just as you would for a cash transaction, and it's
that would be for an
deductible
expense. Yeah.
But anything that's business related is deductible, just like cash.
Right.
So that's the good thing.
So I mean, if you're if you're the seller versus the buyee, so you have to understand this goes two different ways. You could be the business that's providing somebody with a product or service, so that's going to show that is going to be the value of that is going to be income. But like in my business, there's so many different things we do that are. I mean, I have a residential building that's part residential on 20 acres out in this little community called Beulah out in the country. Half my house, unfortunately, folks, if you want to stay over, you got to sleep on the couch because the two of the bedrooms and some other areas, it's all studios, offices, equipment. So, so it's just like that. Then if your trade dollars and you spent $1,000 on stuff you would have paid cash for in your business, that is deductible. So it depends on which way the credits
are going. It's deductible, just like cash.
Right, exactly. And but it's so convenient, and you build this up. Now let me add, there was we did a thing, Christmas in July.
Yes.
So every quarter they do. If you're in the region, we do a great. It's kind of a roundtable
networking event.
Right, but it's enough people all the way around. Kind of reminds me of I used to be in these leads groups.
Yeah.
And some were successful.
It's similar to a BNI.
Yeah. So everybody goes around, does a little 2-minute talk on their business, and then when it's all over, and she even has wine. Even though I used to be a beer drinker, I'm drinking wine now. But and some hors d'oeuvres and stuff. But it's really about these people you see online or over the phone. Now you're meeting them in person. So I know I stuck around for at least another hour after the networking event, and we do some drawings and things like that too as well. So I thought that was another aspect of the business.
Yes.
That these are not like faceless people that are out there. These are real people that we can meet, and a lot of them show up.
There's a quote that's one of my favorite quotes. People do business with the people they get to know, like, and trust. And that's the reason I have those networking events quarterly, so that they can the members can get to know one another. And then we have in December we have a big extravaganza, our Christmas party at Seville Quarter.
Let me write that down. So
it's always
buffet, Seville Quarter. Yes,
yeah,
okay.
Yep.
Sounds like a party.
Food, entertainment. It's a Christmas party, but a great chance again to network with your fellow members. And
we do want to keep inserting in here that this is mainly your area is primarily Northwest Florida. I mean, as far as your immediate members, but they partner with trade exchanges. They're all over America, and I like that travel thing. And I need a vacation. So
we even have a few places overseas even that you can.
Right, so they could put that together. They're there to help. I mean, it's just if I'm going down the road and I got something I need to buy, they're the first ones I call and go. I don't start going to Google and look at. I go, who's a member that does this? And it may be one, it may be none. Most times at least one, but and then a lot of times it's more than one, and it may be somebody that's closer to where I am or whatever. So let me just. This is kind of on the subject, but not. I mean. I grew up in a family of, my dad's side, they were auctioneers, promoters, nightclub owners. I grew up in one of the premier nightclubs in the South in Atlanta back in the 50s, 60s. Don't know who these people are, but I understand that Count Basie and Duke Ellington, Tommy Jimmy Dorsey became kind of famous and were already famous. But my dad always taught me if you're going to be the only difference between a professional and amateur, you know what the difference is? Professionals get paid, okay, in reality. But we know there's also, you can tell an amateur is not quite as good as professional. That's the way it's supposed to be. But Fran is one of these people. She is always on, if you know what I mean. It doesn't matter. We could be at a hockey game or whatever, but she's ready to do business all the time. So the way she carries herself, the way she presents herself, I'm a little more laid back. It's kind of my style, but I used to put the suit on, coat and tie in Miami. I used to lease high-end apartments down on Brickell Avenue in South Beach, and I did all that. And I'm in my home. Some days y'all don't even, I'm in the studio all day. I'm in my pajamas. You don't even know it though. Hopefully the camera's not on the computer. But talk just a little bit because our shows. We want it to be a teaching experience and support business for people out there that are doing different things and maybe they need a little help in there. How did you become so professional and you have yourself so together? I even said today to Mark, I said, I don't think we're putting in big old headphones on this lady. Because I'm even a little bit like that too. Hey, I got earbuds today, so you don't have the headphones. The headphones were like falling off me, but I think I need to get better sized headphones. But anyway, that's why I got the earbuds today. It's and if you don't know what we're doing here, for me, I've got a little bit of a hearing issue. Not terrible, but when you play as bass guitar next to loud guitar players for 40 or 50 years, it's going to happen. And I played on both sides, so both ears have a little issue there. But it's in the bands, and I'm going to let you take it back again. My bands, and I started playing the stand-up bass in junior high school. We called it back then, not middle school, orchestra. And I went on to start rock bands. But I eventually, by the 70s, late 70s and 80s on, it was basically blues and American roots music, which is also the early rock and roll, R&B, soul, things like that. But unless we were playing like a beach party or something real laid back, if a musician showed up in t-shirt and jeans, I sent him home. I said, you are, as much as we all got to be good players, no question about that. I'm probably the worst player in the band, but I always hired better players that made me better, and I have made them better too. But I said, those people, if you look like a loser, then that's what they're going to think of us, okay? And I can tell with you, and my dad always said, you got to dress for success, no matter where you are, have a great attitude, stay away from negative people, on and on and on. And somehow in that jungle out there, I've survived. I mean, when I switched totally to kind of film production and this kind of stuff 15 years ago and doing a lot of other things in production, I have friends of mine that know me from other industries. Like, how did you do that? I go, just did it. Where'd you go to school? Learned on the street. Just did it. So you must have had some people, I know, in teaching and all that too. And I remember as a kid in Atlanta, if you go to a restaurant downtown, the men had to wear a sport coat. Sometimes they had to put on a sport coat and a tie. So you were always exuding like class, okay? Where did you get this from, or was it just automatic?
Well, thank you, first of all. But I
don't argue. I'm a producer. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's true. No, thank you. Okay, I would say that Hazel Scales was not only a friend, but
she was in the school system.
She was my boss. Really,
okay.
She was principal when I was at Pine Forest.
Right.
But she was also a friend and a mentor, and she always just seemed to have everything just the correct solution for everything. And I think if you can say osmosis,
Yeah.
I tried to learn everything.
You mean if you hang around with dogs, you get fleas? Okay, got it.
So, anyway, she was a great influence in my life.
That's
so
good.
I have to give her credit.
Yeah, and those are, if you're a young person, those are who you want to, if you're looking to be successful, if you're waiting for the government to take care of you, good luck, okay? But there's so many, it's America. We have so many opportunities out there.
Yeah.
I've been on both sides of the political realm, and you already know what I'm on now, but I'm not a radical like I used to be. But, that's a search. That was a journey. But there's so much opportunity out there. But you have to seize the moment. You have to. But the way you present yourself, I kind of tell people, we're all kind of, if you ever saw that movie Truman Show, we're kind of all in our own Truman Show. And visual, why did MTV become a success? So people could now see the artists that they love, their audio, their music. Now they could see what they look like or whatever. Sometimes that could work in the reverse. For some, I've actually had guys on my radio show, and they said, well, I know we're going to do a video because we just don't have faces and bodies made for video. I go, yeah, you do. You are who you are. I remember this one band, there used to be Grinder Switch, a Southern rock band, and went on to become Dr. Hector, but Drew Lumbar weighed in at about 240, the leader. He said our band collectively weighs 1,000 pounds. I was like, well, there you go. There's the hook. Have fun with it. But so I'm just saying that you've got the way you carry yourself, especially if you're in a profession and you're not just going to be a worker bee. Nothing wrong with the worker bee. We need everybody out there, and I don't care what kind of job you have. If you get up every morning, get dressed and go to work and try your best, that's respectable. But when you're trying to sell people something and convince them, it just, your look, your demeanor, all of that is going to affect it one way or the other of how people. Now you can't sell everybody, but it definitely helps.
Someone asked me once, said, if you could give 3 words that describe you, what would you say? And I thought for a second, and I said, grace, grit, and gratitude. I always want to show my gratitude when necessary, and with the grit, failure is not an option.
What we used to say, the next no puts you that closer to a yes. And you could tell, Dave Barnes talks about it a lot too. He's somewhat of a motivational speaker, but he said, I'll fail again. He said, but basically you try to learn from it. A lot of my clients, they're new. They want to do a pilot for a TV show, or they want to do an online talk show, whatever. And most of the time, they don't really have an experience of what they're doing. But I said, look, when you hire somebody like me, if you never get there to do that, this is like hiring a good accountant. A good accountant shouldn't really charge you anything at the end of the day, because they're going to save you money if they're worth their salt, as a rule, unless you're doing something you aren't supposed to be doing. But, so what I'm doing is saying, yeah, I tried that more than once. It won't work. That won't work. Why spend your money, spend your time? And I've seen Dave's more apt at doing this than me. I've seen him close his portfolio and say, look, we're just not the guys for you. You got to believe what we're telling you. And we've got huge, Dave and I now collectively, we're closing in on collectively together 100 years of experience. And I'm in the digitizing business, and I have a partner that's just turned 80. He started running tube cameras for NBC in New York. Tubes, tube TVs. Well, they had tube cameras. They were really bad. But that's going back early 60s. So he's been around it for so long. I never thought, I would be working in this profession. There's a reason I moved up here from South Florida. There was a girl involved. Imagine that. But that didn't work out. So, we don't want to go there. But, it's all of a sudden I'm in this profession, which I'd been around music and entertainment my whole life. And then now we're doing producing. We're doing all these other things that, sometimes the money's there, sometimes it isn't. But you have a passion. That's one of the things Dave always said. If you don't have a passion for it, find something else.
That's true.
You can actually enjoy getting up in the morning and going and working at your passion. And it's much easier that way.
And we have some wonderful clients, and I really enjoy working with them. I really enjoy that, and it just makes me feel good when we can do things for them.
And we all notice. So you automatically. I say to people, well, this president did that, or this president did this or that. I go, look, I'm a business guy. Now, when we're talking business, we look at the numbers, because the numbers don't lie. And I don't care if you're Creole, if you're Chinese, if you're Buddhist, if you're Jewish. In business, you've got to be a little bit cold-blooded, but you've got people you're dealing with. Dave and I have gone out to some horrible disasters to film, and we take a break. We go and start helping the people. They're like, what are you doing? We're helping you. We got feelings too. So, okay, I've got a technical question, and probably be more. Okay, so there is a difference with restaurants. You've got some kind of a rule, and you actually Dave's given me this as some trade dollars, and so explain to that how. And you got how many restaurants right now?
We have 30 plus
in the
area.
Okay, so I want to go to a restaurant, but I have to use the trade dollars.
Well, good question.
Okay.
With any other purchase, whether it's advertising, anything else, printing, anything else, dental, anything else, you just use your ID number that the computer assigns you when you join.
Right.
But for restaurants, since we have 400 plus business owners as a part of our group and 30 plus restaurants, it's my job to take care of the restaurants, and I don't want them to get overloaded. So we have a method of keeping the flow going so that everybody can still use the restaurants, but we don't flood the restaurants. So we use what we call script. It's certificates that you purchase from us, and we track it as it goes out. We track it when it comes in, and then I visit the restaurants each month to collect and give them credit, so to speak, and then post that. Then we continue with the flow.
So there is somewhat of a limit on that.
We limit the restaurants just to control the flow with the restaurants,
Right.
to help them.
Right.
That's the purpose.
Yeah, I guess I've been in.
But we're fair to everyone,
Right.
whether you own Blab TV or you
Right.
cut someone's grass.
Now, what
As long
level
as you have dollars in your account.
for a new member? Because I haven't got my trade dollars for restaurants yet. But
Yeah.
it's okay.
You
I
just
mean,
need to ask.
I'm a bachelor.
Yeah.
I love to cook, but I don't have the time sometimes.
Yeah.
Cooking for two people is hard
Uh-huh,
enough. Cooking
uh-huh.
for one is like, it's always leftovers. So,
Yeah.
so I go to restaurants that give me big portions, so I have lunch the next day.
And so you just use the script to pay for your drinks, your food, etc. And then the tax is we can't trade tax, so
Right.
tax is always cash.
Yeah.
And the tips, we like for you to keep those servers happy, so
Sure.
we say be generous with your tips.
Yeah, and I mean, I ask, actually, in past, I've asked the wait service people, do they, if you put it on a credit card, do they cash out at the end of the day, or how's that work? And different establishments
To
are
make sure the
different.
servers would get
Yeah.
the money.
Of course,
Yeah.
now it looks like there's going to be no tips, tax on tips, which is kind of nice too. But
Yeah,
give your wait service people. I always try to
So-
do that, even because I'm normally going to put it on a card.
Yeah.
But so at what point does a new member qualify to get any actual trade dollars? It's kind of like monopoly money to use.
You just have to sell something first to get, sort of like a checking account. You have
Right.
to have dollars in your account before you can spend.
Right.
Same way with your Gulf Coast account.
And then you debit it off of their
You
account.
have to provide some business first to earn some dollars in your account, just like a checking account. Then you can spend those
So I could
dollars.
go get some trade dollars now
Sure, you have dollars, right?
Yeah.
Correct. And then, what we try to remind everybody is that the nice thing about it too is if you do business for, say, a dentist, you don't have to spend your dollars back with that person. So
Right.
it's better than a direct trade. Many people have done direct trades;
Right.
they don't always work out. But you can spend your dollars anywhere in the system, or if you decide to use it outside the system for a vacation.
Do some of the members that are on the selling side of it, do they have issues? Do they have to a particular purchase? So you're talking about small business. I mean, if we all showed up in a restaurant with all trade dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Florida Power and Light takes trade dollars.
Yeah, no.
Pay the rent. Maybe the
yeah,
landlord.
yeah. Not yet.
These
no,
are
no.
these are businesses.
Yeah,
It's business to business.
You're saying like a large purchase?
Yeah.
Okay, that's an excellent question. Our members, we have several members, different levels of cash flow, growth, and development. We have one person has his own plane. I think he bought the former governor's plane. We have some with deep pockets, and some just really have to watch everything
That they're doing.
monthly as they go. So it depends on that member. If it's a certain level in excess of, then there could be a cash component. Or also the member may not have enough dollars in his account. He'd pay the difference in cash
Sure.
anyway.
Right.
But we have other members that have great cash flow and they can afford to trade more, and many times they do. We had one
So
dentist.
it's kind of flexible.
It's flexible in that part. One dentist did $10,000 for some implants.
Mm-hmm.
We've had $30,000. Blab TV spent $30,000 one year on billboards.
Oh, wow.
Traded.
Okay.
So
That's
so
good.
it depends on
Yeah,
the
and
situation.
I guess over the years I've always been a proponent of if we can trade stuff, but examples is, and this wasn't so controlled in a sense, but I'm a veteran of about 200 or more national concerts, and also about 30 or 40
major festivals, worked on even behind the scenes. People don't know Springfest in Pensacola. I was behind the scenes with the California promoter the 2 years that we went over 100,000 people. But I've also put together Thunder Beach over in Panama City. They just honored me as I was the original producer, promoter, put it together, and we just had the 25th anniversary. But I brought 13,000 bikes there the first year, and now they get on that spring festival somewhere around 70 to 80,000 motorcycles, which is nothing to sneeze at. But I learned through a travel agent guy who I was working with at the time. He said, I'm like, God, we got to sell more tickets. We got to sell more tickets. Sometimes we throw our own money in there. Today, it's like, you want to do a big festival? I'll do it, but it's going to be you and your investors' money, because pray to God it doesn't rain. And the only thing that hasn't hit me is locusts. And I said, it's still early in the day. We may get attacked by locusts at the festival before it's over. But, tell a lot of stories with that. But, so I was able to go, once I learned this technique, I would go and let's say, so you would have like a major, and everybody sees them on their posters or on the, so you usually have like, the XYZ Jazz Fest, okay, whatever that. And then you have the beer or alcohol sponsor. So they have an exclusive on that. Then you have the non-alcohol, which is a Coke, Pepsi, RC Cola, whatever, on there. But then you may have the car dealership, which could be the local Ford dealer. So you give them, exclusives on that. Nobody else, they own that category. And now they're bundling because, whatever a billboard is, what they're spending is 90% less, but they're with a group of other businesses that are advertising. So let's just say, and this has happened. I mean, I went to, when Indian motorcycles started coming back in the late 90s, and eventually Polaris bought them today, and they're not going anywhere. They just are getting bigger and bigger. But Indian was new back in the scene, and I had a relationship with the biggest retailer in the country out of Jacksonville, big bike superstores. So I went to them and they said, and this is a first year event. They said, what do you want for the motorcycle? I said, Harley's like, they're not interested. I said, I can't believe it, but I think they're going to regret it. So we want Indian. And they're like, well, what do you want? And this was at their prime dealership. I said, so I want $10,000 for the exclusive motorcycle sponsorship with the right for you to renew year after year. That's 25 years later. I don't know who their motorcycle sponsor is or if they have an exclusive. So they said, look, we got, let's just say it was $6,000. We got that in our budget for marketing, and that's what they look at. It's marketing. Now, if it's a nonprofit, 501, they could write it off as a charitable donation. But in our case, they write it off as advertising and promotion. So I went and I says, boy, I really like that new Indian Chief, and I'm in your store in Panama City right now, and I'm looking at that bike, and that's bad to bone. And I said, it looks totally different than a Harley or anything else. I love them. My uncle used to ride Indians in the 40s and the 50s. My favorite uncle, Dixie Webb, and we need to do a movie about him. But anyway, they said, look, how about we put you on an Indian for a while? It's all covered, all servicing, all repairs, everything. I go, better than owning it. And that's what, boy, that next day I went and I got to lead that first parade with 3,500 motorcycles, and I was praying, God, don't let me lay this bike down in front of 3,000 bikers. but it all worked. But it was like, we got some money, but we don't have all the money. So can we trade something? I said, yeah, I don't have a bike at the moment. And I said, I got so many sponsors. I've been at a Harley rental place over in Gulf Shores, and they were putting, they get a new bike and say, here's the bike, and you ride it for the next month or two and break it in because we know you won't abuse the bike. So anyway, so some of us have kind of been in the trade business, but it wasn't a business. Organized. It was off the cuff, so to speak. But we closed a lot of deals. But I tell, because a lot of these there were charities connected too, and I said, I went to a guy once and he's a car dealership, and I think it was a jazz festival. He goes, I hate jazz, but I like whatever it was, the Little Sisters of the Poor, whatever. I love that organization, so I'm going to buy the car sponsorship. So sometimes it's an emotional thing from the heart rather than from the mind and business. But they would buy into it because of that nonprofit that was involved. So I learned. So this was not such a hard learning curve for me. Just there were some technical things about how do the taxes work and that type of
Sure.
thing. Because believe me, if they didn't do what was necessary, IRS would have already come after you a long time ago,
Yes.
and all the rest of
Yeah.
us.
Well, our company is actually celebrating 48 years
Whoa.
this year. Yeah, actually this past July.
Amazing. And that's just trade exchanges nationwide, or is that just your?
That's just Gulf Coast Trade.
All right. So this is nothing new. It's just it's kind of like the blues. It's always been there if you want to seek it out.
That's right.
Where are we at, Mark, on time here? Where are we at? I'm looking right. I'm looking at the clock.
45 minutes.
Okay, so we'll talk about if you want. Let me just break away for a minute and pay some of the bills. Currently, our one and only sponsor, and there's some French, is Mike Cotton Productions. How about that? Just imagine that. And they keep somebody like Mark around. Mark's been great. Give Mark a nice hand. Mark spent many years in this business. We even talked about Blab TV.
Yeah.
Him and Dave Barnes have done
Yeah.
a lot of work, helping them, so to speak. But you can become a sponsor. We have 3 different categories of guests on this show. One would be celebrities, and we had Rocky Blyer recently, and that actually was 2 episodes. And Rocky, a Bronze Star in Vietnam, won 4 Super Bowls. Totally never played football after he got injured in Vietnam. So he's a celebrity. So we go after those people, and that's one category. The other would be businesses that are for profit, and obviously we're not bringing on every widget company out there. But Fran, I mean, we know her. We just felt that her business it's fascinating, and it's something that a lot of people hear, but they really don't know what it is. So, and you can keep replaying this all you want, especially on YouTube. We like that. And so that's hopefully helping people now to understand it. And, if you're out in LA, then maybe you go to the trade exchange in LA and sign up. But again, they do cooperate with each other. We do, obviously, production, and Mark and I both have worked with Dave many times on everything from TV commercials, band videos, you name it, just not a lot of what we call feature films, which are big productions with actors and giant budgets and all that. We do get asked, though, when they come to the region to supply them with personnel, equipment, and things like that. So that does happen. But we've done lots of reality shows, documentaries. Dave and I together own 5 documentaries. Some of those are, as we speak, are in process and going up on YouTube. And some of them have been around for a while, so you can be able to watch them, for free. The other thing, real quick, is digitizing. I'm not going down the whole list, but you go on my Facebook page, you can learn a lot about digitizing. This is any old media from the 90s back to the 20s or 30s that was before the digital age. So I started out in the 80s converting 8mm movies that my dad took over to videotape on the VHS tapes. And of course, there's many different types of videotapes, believe it or not. We do probably more variety of the different mediums. Some of the stuff we don't even do it because it may be once every 5 years somebody asks us, to do that, and you've got to have the machine to run it one last time in real time in order to convert it over to digital. But once it's digital, you save. It stops the degrading, and it's all degrading now. All audio videotape has a metallic coating, and that stuff is metal. And what does it do? It corrodes, it rusts, just by itself. So if you like juniors, kindergarten, graduation, you might want to think of getting it digitized real quick. We don't recommend any of those humongous companies you see out there spending all kinds of money in advertising. We repair a lot of their work all the time. There was one point there where 50% of our work was stuff that they said they couldn't do or fix or whatever. Unfortunately for these customers, they pay them all in advance. We have a payment plan too. Yeah. So 850-384-1484. Mark will have that on the screen before the end of the show. MikeCottonProductions.com. If you go there, everything is there, including 2 buttons at the bottom of every page. Take you to the YouTube channel. We have about 85 films on there right now of all types, and all of the podcasts. This will be number 10. And that it'll come up on the newest clips or productions, so you'll immediately see it at the top of the page. Okay. And then we put the link out for this particular show. This is going to go, once it's edited, then it goes everywhere. And that's to help your business too. I know Dave did a video for you.
Yes.
And the national organization
yes.
Didn't think anything of it, then looked at it and went, wow.
Yeah. Can you give me his number?
Yeah. Yeah, and if you want to provide, I mean, we'll be going over some photographs, ads, any kind of video clips or anything like that. If you think it would relate to what we're doing here today, Mark can edit those in where we're talking about
sure.
a particular thing, and it comes up on the screen.
Yeah.
So it's visual too.
It's a great idea.
So anyway, just let us know if you need anything in the world. No job's too small, no job's too large for us. As far as we say film, video. Film is it's a term like Kleenex. So I bought Publix tissues the other day, but I sent somebody there to pick them up and some other things. I said, be sure and get some Kleenex. Well, it's like Bush Hog. They make the mowers that mowed the highways, and that's one of our clients, by the way, or Dave's clients, for 20 years. So it's just something's just become generic, if you will, the name itself. So anyway, we appreciate any support there. And if you've got particularly independent businesses, they can be anywhere. People watch this show all over the country and even outside of the country. But I would say the bulk of our viewers and listeners are Northwest Florida, South Alabama, probably half of them. So we have a lot of people in the neighborhood. So anyway, you're 48 years. What is on the horizon for your trade exchange, which is
Gulf Coast Trade Exchange.
And what's the website again?
GulfCoastTrade.com.
Okay, and could they call you or Debbie?
Yes, absolutely. 850-434-5278. And I'd like to wrap up with a couple of things.
Sure.
One is to all the business owners out there, if you could use a little extra business and would like to save money, save cash, call us. We can help you to live better without spending more.
And I could testify. I went to the little networking thing the other night, and I picked up a digitizer because we're working on the job right now.
Yep.
And then I've got another one that looks like they're going to do kind of an online show. And it's about suicide prevention, which we've dealt with that a lot with dealing with Vietnam veterans and some other shows. In fact, we've had a life coach on the show. We've had a family counselor dealing with addictive children in your family and things like this. So it's right up our alley. So there's two just showing up there, but they had already heard about me, and they cornered me. Here's my card. Give me a call. So and you know what? It's all because of Fran.
Well, Mike,
we should write a song.
Yes, I like that. Thanks again for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. And folks, please see us next time. This should be, I don't know, probably around the 15th, 16th. What do you think, Mark? We'll have this on YouTube.
1 week.
Within a week, okay. So it's like time. If you want to reach me, you can just call me, 850-384-1484. You can go to MikeCottonProductions.com. You can call, you can text. We do return our phone calls. We're on that dadgum cell phone a lot, but we do call everybody back, usually within that day, if not within the next day. So we say within 24 hours. So remember, some people are very famous, and we all know who they are. And there's some people kind of sort of famous, maybe in the region, in the neighborhood, whatever. But really, come on, most of us aren't famous at all, but we've all got one or more great stories. This is their stories, and I'm sitting here with my friend and business associate, Fran Crumpton, from Gulf Coast Trade Exchange. Fascinating, whole nother area of business. I'm sure a lot of these people went, wow, I didn't even know this existed. We'll see you next time on Their Stories. I'm Mike Cotton, and we're out.